After supporting my friend through tough times, she missed my wedding and never reached out. Am I wrong for considering cutting ties with her now that she's a new mom struggling with priorities? First, a little context. I, female, mid-20s, and my friend Carly, a pseudonym, female, mid-20s, have been friends since high school. Although we did not text or meet up very frequently, we grew quite close. I attended her bachelorette party, was one of her bridesmaids, knew her family and future in-laws, and she mentioned that I was like a sister to her. Even though we did not communicate regularly, I considered her one of my most significant friendships. The last time I saw her was a couple of years ago at her wedding. Over the years, I texted her several times to invite her for coffee, but she was always busy. I thought this was acceptable. I, too, was very busy, and knowing her, I figured she was likely preoccupied with getting her life in order. She faced many setbacks in high school and early college, so she was continuously working on her degree, juggling a couple of jobs, and moving around with her boyfriend. Therefore, I let her be. Before I explain the current situation, here is another important detail. I dated one of her friends for a couple of years prior to her wedding. She was genuinely happy for us, but when our relationship ended, I could not reconnect with her to provide an explanation, and I intentionally did not explain the exact reasons for our breakup when she reached out via text. I am unsure what he told her, but I initiated the breakup due to a severe lack of communication and accountability, along with his overly friendly interactions with one of his female friends, possibly not an outright affair, but certainly significant flirting, at the very least. I thought it wise to remain silent about the breakup to avoid creating an awkward situation for our mutual friends, including Carly. They had nothing to do with it, so why should they feel compelled to take sides? It is also noteworthy that he is now married to the girl he was seeing while we were together. Now, I got engaged a couple of years ago. I did not post anything on social media, so I reached out to the most important people directly. Of course, Carly was one of them. She congratulated me, and nothing seemed amiss. I think I asked her once more if she and her husband could meet up with me and my fiancé so I could introduce them, but she said she did not have time. I felt somewhat hurt, but I figured she was overwhelmed. The trouble began a few months before my wedding. I must admit that I sent out the invitations a little late, about 2 months in advance. However, I did text them to ask for their new address, specifying that it was for a wedding invitation. I do not believe the late notice was the issue. The problem was that Carly had a baby a few months before I sent the invitations, and my wedding was designated as adults only. About a month before the wedding, she texted me to inform me that she and her husband could not attend. She explained that they could not bring the baby and did not want to disrupt our day, but hoped it would be lovely. I was somewhat taken aback, not only because I regarded her as one of my closest friends and assumed she would certainly be at my wedding, but also because something in that message felt slightly off. There was no malice intended, but the message sounded a bit distant, as if she were trying to dismiss me. I realize it sounds strange, but I felt compelled to mention it because I likely would not be writing this if her message had conveyed genuine regret. Now I understand that having a baby is an entirely life-altering experience. It drastically shifts your priorities, your thought processes, and your responsibilities. I also acknowledge that it is incredibly taxing, both physically and mentally. While I was genuinely hurt by her rejection, I believed it was a legitimate reason for her absence and felt it was not my place to complain about a new mother not being able to meet my expectations. This was a moment to make accommodations for someone I cared about. I took a few days to process my feelings. Perhaps this was a misstep, but I was so genuinely shocked and hurt that I thought my tone would come through in my message until I calmed down. I reached out again and proposed several alternatives. I offered to let her bring the baby. It was a small ceremony anyway, and the no kids rule was mainly to prevent not-so-bright guests from bringing multiple unruly toddlers without thinking, or for her to attend only part of the ceremony. I concluded by stating that I did not care about having a flawless day. I merely wanted the important people there for a hug and a picture. She declined again, this time more adamantly, displaying a more pronounced version of the tone I had perceived in her previous message. She mentioned that she had been suffering from serious medical issues since childbirth and that their baby was very colicky, making it impossible for her to attend. I replied that I understood and did not contact her again. The day arrived, and it was beautiful. I had no complaints. I wondered if perhaps she would send me some well wishes. However, I did not hear anything from her, to be fair. I was not actively reminding anyone via social media posts, and none of my other friends texted me either, even though I know they were happy for me. The honeymoon passed. I have been living with my husband for a while now, and I still have not heard anything from her. In case it isn't obvious, I was quite hurt by all of this and have had ample time to reflect on it. A few things have been bothering me. First, Carly has a supportive family nearby, many of whom are stay-at-home parents. I wondered why she could not have had some of them care for the baby and drive her to the ceremony. Around Christmas, I saw pictures of her with her family, which suggested that she was at least somewhat capable of attending an event. I try to dismiss this concern, as I have no right to assess the severity of her medical conditions or abilities. I recognize that severe illness, a fussy baby, and breastfeeding can constitute legitimate reasons for missing a wedding. What troubles me even more is that she did not reach out at all. I mentioned that my other friends also did not contact me, and that did not bother me. However, I am not nearly as close to them. Carly was different. I have known her for a long time. I attended her wedding. I know her family and in-laws, and we were like sisters. I understand that having a baby is profoundly demanding, but if I was like a sister to her, why did she not remember the date of my wedding and send me a small, heartfelt message on that day? That would have been sufficient for me. And after she addressed my wedding invitation as if it were a burden to decline, I received no further effort at conversation or connection. Initially, I thought perhaps she was unwell that day, but if that were the case, why did she not reach out once she recovered? I cannot shake the feeling that she simply did not care. Lastly, I consider the situation involving my ex. I feel guilty for comparing the support I received from my friend to that of my ex-boyfriend, but I believe it is relevant. That relationship was difficult for me, and it was also burdensome to explain to everyone that we were just incompatible, when in reality, it stemmed from his habit of spending excessive time scrolling TikTok while ignoring our need for daily conversation, or because he was clearly communicating with another woman, and occasionally comparing me unfavorably to her, while denying any wrongdoing and accusing me of jealousy whenever I sought to address our issues thoughtfully. I suppressed my frustrations to avoid creating tension among our mutual friends. Then, I discovered through social media comments on their wedding photos that Carly is friends with the couple who contributed to my breakup. I understand she is unaware of the real reasons I left him, and I do not resent her for that. I am simply hurt that she has managed to remain friends with them, more importantly, that she has had the time to connect with them while being too busy for me. She could not meet me for coffee, she did not want to be introduced to my fiancé, and she did not wish me well on my wedding day. Furthermore, it might sound trivial, but she posts pictures of her baby on Instagram. If she can take 30 seconds to do that, why could she not send me a brief text on one of the most significant days of my life, or even in the days that followed? I am unsure of how to proceed. Here's what I suspect occurred. Carly is overwhelmed due to her baby, so everyone outside her immediate family has been pushed aside. She likely forgot about my wedding while juggling her stress and responsibilities related to motherhood. Naturally, she became closer to my ex because their friendship predates hers and mine. She has no awareness that he was chatting up his current wife while he was with me. I am the only one upset by it, as I am the only one in our mutual friend group who knows the truth. She probably still cares about me, certainly does not wish me ill, but simply does not have the emotional bandwidth to maintain our friendship right now. She likely does not think anything of this situation. On the other hand, I have made numerous attempts to reconnect with her. I have tried accommodating her needs, and I did not ask for much. The fact that she could not take the initiative to engage in even minimal interaction on the most important day of my life, or afterward, hurts significantly. It also leads me to believe that, despite her lack of ill will, a true friend would have made more effort. I have considered the possibility of severing ties completely. She would probably not even notice until she has missed a significant amount of my life. However, she is a stressed new mother, and she was an excellent friend to me for many years. I am certain she does not intend to hurt me. Am I the antagonist for contemplating cutting her off? Am I being unreasonable? I feel guilty for even considering distancing myself from someone who was so kind to me in high school and college. I would appreciate some insight, because I am likely going to drop by her house next week to deliver the baby-related gifts I bought for her around Christmas. I had not gotten around to doing so, in part due to the wedding invitation situation. My gifts showing up at her doorstep may prompt her to reach out to me, and if she does, I am uncertain about how I will respond. In summary, a long-time close friend did not attend my wedding or reach out at all. On one hand, she is a new mother and likely just overwhelmed and exhausted. On the other hand, she has managed to prioritize familial and other relationships. She has consistently turned down my efforts to connect, and I do not believe sending a thoughtful message on my wedding day is too much to expect. Am I the antagonist for considering ending our friendship due to this lack of effort? Story 2. After having a baby, my husband made a snide comment about my efforts at home. I stood up for myself, but now he claims I took him being too sensitive. Was it wrong to confront him about his attitude? I am a 28-year-old female, and my husband is a 31-year-old male. We welcomed a baby girl 4 months ago. My husband and I discussed this decision for an extended period while I was pregnant, and we both agreed that I would stay home with her because we were uncomfortable with the idea of putting her in daycare, especially after hearing numerous horror stories about those facilities. Since we had the chance for one of us to remain at home, it made sense for me to take on that role. Both my husband and I hold master's degrees and are very career-oriented individuals. However, my husband has very little patience for much of anything, while I possess significantly more patience and have a passion for children. Thus, it was an easy decision for me to be the one to stay at home rather than him. My husband was able to take 2 months off after our daughter was born, which was immensely helpful, as he assumed most of the household chores while my primary focus was caring for our daughter. The newborn phase was incredibly challenging, so I was very grateful for his presence. Allow me to clarify my upcoming comments by stating that I have no complaints about my husband as a father. He is excellent, he is involved, he wakes up at night to feed and change our daughter, and he spends time with her whenever he is home. However, the time he dedicates to her usually lasts only 10 to 15 minutes at a time. This is primarily due to his low tolerance for frustration, and the interactions typically occur when I am taking a shower, doing the dishes, or cooking while she is crying. Once I finish my task, he hands her back to me and returns to whatever he was doing previously. I have also taken on most of the household responsibilities since I am the one at home for most of the day. I cook nearly every day. I say nearly because sometimes we have leftovers that he can take to work the next day, so I will not cook on those occasions. I clean the house once or twice a week. I do our laundry and our baby's laundry once or twice a week, and I care for our dog, among other tasks. Nevertheless, my husband does not hesitate to assist with chores when he is home. If he notices that the laundry needs to be done, he will either start it himself or complete it all if I am out with our daughter or visiting family. If the floors need cleaning and I have not done it yet, he will either clean them or ask me if I can do it the next day. The point is, he is quite involved both with our daughter and at home. This arrangement has generally been effective, and we have not encountered any significant issues until 2 nights ago. My husband works at a private company, but has recently received an offer from another organization that provides better benefits, although it pays a lower annual salary. We are all under the same health insurance plan, and we have been discussing what would be best for us regarding the health insurance options. He also suggested that we might want to consider purchasing health insurance independently to secure the best coverage available. I told him that it is usually preferable to obtain health insurance through an employer since the costs are typically lower, and the coverage is generally good. I suggested that we first examine the coverage and costs offered by both companies. Earlier this week, my husband requested that I check some documents on his desk that contain the health insurance information for both companies. 2 days ago, I went to his desk to review the papers, but I could only locate the health insurance information for one of the companies. For the other company, I found information regarding the deductible, co-payments, and similar details, but I was unable to find the cost for all 3 of us. On that day, he called me on his way home from work, as usual, and asked whether I had reviewed the insurance information. I informed him that I had gone through the papers, but did not see the cost information we were seeking. He insisted that it should all be present and asked me to check again. I returned to the office and looked through his desk once more, with him on FaceTime, going through each document to show him that no cost information was available for one company. He asked me about the differences in deductible and coverage between the two companies. I began to explain that for the public organization, which I mentioned by name, the deductible and co-payments are half of what the other company offers. Since I did not know the name of the other private company, I referred to it simply as the other company. He began to speak to me in a very condescending manner, asking, "What other company, my name? I do not understand what you are talking about." I responded, "Not public organization's name, the other company. I do not know its name." He then stated the name was, instructing me to repeat after him, again in a condescending tone. Aware of his stress from trying to make the best decision for us, I reluctantly agreed and repeated the company's name. He then inquired whether I had considered the possibility of paying for insurance coverage out of pocket, to which I replied that we should first explore the coverage options from these two companies, as that is likely to be more cost-effective in the long run with better coverage. He began to speak condescendingly again, questioning how I could know that, and asking whether I had ever researched the cost of paying for insurance out of pocket. This next part is where everything escalated. Our baby is likely in the process of teething, resulting in her being fussier than usual, and this particular day had been especially challenging. She cried throughout the day, refused to be placed down anywhere, would not take naps, and was only calm when I was holding her. Consequently, I was already feeling more frustrated than normal and was on edge. After my husband asked whether I had ever explored out-of-pocket insurance options, he added, "I have been asking you to look into paying for insurance out of pocket for about 3 days. You have the time because I just called you, and the baby is in her jumper while you are probably sitting on your phone. If you are not willing to put in the same effort I am, then I will stay home with the baby and you can go to work." I became angry, which escalated into an argument, and when the baby started crying, we ended the call. Upon arriving home from work, my husband greeted our daughter and then told me, "I cannot even speak to you. Look how you reacted." I reminded him that we had agreed on my staying home with our daughter, which is as demanding, if not more so, than his job. I told him to inform me if he no longer wanted to fulfill that role, and I would make arrangements to return to work, but he should never belittle my efforts or suggest that I am not contributing. Later that night, after I had put our daughter to bed, I went into the kitchen while he was washing dishes and began to cry, explaining how unfair his comments were. I told him that he knew staying home to care for our daughter while managing household tasks was a significant amount of work, and that it was inappropriate for him to insinuate I was not making an effort or that when he called me, our daughter was in the jumper while I was likely on my phone, suggesting I am not working hard. I told him he had treated me poorly and spoken to me in a condescending manner, to which he replied that he had not, claiming he was merely presenting me with facts and had not spoken to me in a disrespectful way. There was much back and forth. He started raising his voice, and I repeatedly requested that he lower his voice as our daughter may wake up after being especially fussy all day, and I did not want to have to soothe her back to sleep. He told me that he did not care and that he would handle putting her back to sleep. Our argument continued until our daughter woke up, and I went into her room. He followed me and insisted he would put her to sleep, but I stated that I was going to bed anyway. We debated for about 2 minutes in the room. I expressed my disbelief that he could not understand how hurtful his words were. He responded that I was foolish to think he intended to hurt me and maintained that he had not said anything inappropriate but was just talking to me, and I was being overly sensitive as usual. I told him that I was not being sensitive, and if anyone was being foolish, it was him for addressing me in that manner. He proclaimed, "This is the biggest mistake I have ever made," presumably referring to our marriage and having a baby. He stormed off to sleep in another room. The following morning, our daughter woke up around 6 a.m. I accompanied her to the kitchen to warm her milk, and my husband was about to leave for work. He kissed our daughter and departed. The same occurred today. I apologize for the length of this message. I am uncertain about what to think at this point. Am I being overly sensitive? I really do not believe so. He has a pattern of speaking to me in this manner, and when I express my hurt or offense, he accuses me of simply being sensitive. I truly do not know what to think anymore. Story 3. Caught in a love triangle. After 3.5 years with my boyfriend, I've started falling for a new friend. He offers peace and understanding, but my heart breaks for my boyfriend. Should I stay in my comfort zone or take a leap into the unknown? This may be a lengthy story, and it might be somewhat confusing, but I assure you that I feel just as perplexed and overwhelmed by pain. I am a 25-year-old female and my boyfriend is a 21-year-old male. We have been in a relationship for 3.5 years. Yes, I am aware of this age difference, but regrettably, I was not mindful of it at the outset, so please bear with me. I fell in love with him at first sight. I realized I wanted him in my life for a long time. We connected effortlessly, sharing the same interests and hobbies. Everything felt too good to be true, but it was not. We were infatuated with each other. During the first 2 years, we certainly experienced our share of highs and lows. He did some things that hurt me, moments I have endeavored to forget. Some were genuine mistakes. Others I do not classify as mistakes. I understand the age difference and recognize that this was his first serious relationship, while it wasn't mine. For a long time, he did not comprehend why I was uncomfortable with him frequently messaging other girls. Even those who expressed interest in him, he did not perceive it this way. There was even an incident 2 years in where I received screenshots of him requesting nude photos from another girl a week after my birthday and a month before our first trip together to celebrate our anniversary. My heart was torn over this situation. Part of me believes it could have been fabricated to break us up, considering there were a few unstable girls from his past who were unhappy about our relationship. Another part of me felt that it appeared too authentic to be false. Ultimately, we moved past it, although it occasionally crosses my mind. I did not want to lose him, and he seemed utterly devastated by the situation. I never received a clear answer about what occurred, but I was too frightened to keep seeking the truth. He would do anything for me, truly. I would go so far as to say he would take a bullet for me. I know he loves me, adores me, and has good intentions at heart. He makes me feel joyful, and being with him feels like home. When I look at him, I envision everything and more. I see my future husband, the father of my children, everything. For the past 2 years, we have been actively discussing buying a home together and planning to have a child in the future, even contemplating marriage one day. However, over the last year, I would say things have started to change. While we still talk about our hopes and goals for the future, he has ceased to show me the attention he once did. We no longer go out much. We have stopped engaging in fun adventures, drives, dates, movies, walks, and so on. I am not an extravagant girl, and he knows that a simple 2-coffee date warms my heart. He claims he began experiencing significant anxiety around people and feelings of insecurity. The problem is, he never once communicated this to me. I could not even perceive anything was amiss. I noticed he was spending a lot of time at home, gaming with his friends, and avoiding hanging out or canceling plans more frequently than ever. In the last 4 months of that year, I realized that this might be the underlying issue. I tried to talk to him repeatedly about how much his actions hurt me, asking if there was anything I could do to help. He did not want assistance, and nothing changed. No matter how many times I expressed how much it hurt me, it seemed as though he did not care that I missed him. Fast forward to the beginning of this year. I received messages from another guy, let's refer to him as AB, a 26-year-old male for the sake of this story. He was very friendly and respectful of my relationship, not pressuring me in any way. We began texting frequently and getting to know one another. He became the friend I turned to for advice and support. It felt as though we were seeking the same things in life. We hung out once before, which was strictly a drive, and then he returned me home. My current boyfriend discovered this and was absolutely furious, which was understandable. However, he assumed I had been unfaithful. Yes, I fully acknowledge my faults in this situation. I should have informed him that I was spending time with AB, but I did not want to incite a fight and merely wished to escape my house for a couple of hours and do something different because I could no longer stand it. I realize this is no excuse for how I handled it, and I have been very honest about how much I hurt him, even though I considered AB a friend. Weeks passed, and I never contacted AB again. For some reason, it hurt. It was painful because nothing in my current relationship was improving, and I had no one to confide in. I would wait indefinitely for a reply from my boyfriend, with no calls and losing track of time, only to end up canceling plans. This repeated itself numerous times throughout the year. Eventually, I added AB back on my social media accounts. I missed talking to him because he understood me well. It was easy to converse with him. He was straightforward, very carefree, and non-judgmental. My boyfriend discovered this again and was furious. I acknowledged that this hurt him and that I might react similarly, but in that moment, I just needed a friend. I never cheated on him, I simply required support. I believe the real issue is that I have started to develop feelings for AB. It feels as though I am falling out of love with my current boyfriend and into love with someone else. This terrifies me because I have never experienced this before. I never thought I would have feelings for anyone other than my current boyfriend. This is what makes it so distressing. At present, my boyfriend is finally giving me all the attention that I had been pleading for over the past year. Yet now it feels as if it does not even matter. I find myself overthinking whether this is simply because he has seen someone else can provide the same for me, or if he is genuinely scared of losing me. What if, after a few months or a year, things revert to how they once were, when we hardly hung out during the week? Additionally, turning 26 this year frightens me. I have always wanted to rush through life, get married, buy a home, etc. I felt an urgency to accomplish these things by a certain age. Now, as I grow older, I am beginning to contemplate my life and what I truly want. I am starting to slow down and realize that there is no strict timeline for achieving things in life. AB wants me to give him a chance. He is unbelievably kind to me in every possible way and provides everything I have needed: peace and calm. I have even tried my best to annoy him to prove that no one can be this calm, but he simply does not get irritated by anything I do or say. He shares my perspectives in life and seeks a serious relationship that has the potential to grow. This is what frightens me the most. What if I leave my current boyfriend for something that could be extraordinary and lasting? Or what if I deeply regret it and can never have him back? Alternatively, what if I stay comfortable in the knowledge that a marriage is inevitable but later regret it because I am truly unhappy? I feel so stuck. I never anticipated any of this would happen, and I am scared. My mind is in turmoil. The thought of hurting my current boyfriend devastates me, yet I am also trying to find my own happiness. I need advice. Everything is shifting so rapidly, my age, life it is overwhelming, and I am unsure of what to do. Story 4. Am I the asshole for having feelings of resentment towards my friend as she's about to graduate? Here is the corrected post. Some background story before I discuss the feelings of resentment I have towards my friend. I am a 24-year-old female who graduated from a local community college with an associate's degree in 2022. I took a long time to finish my associate's degree because I did not really know what I wanted to pursue as a career. I had a plan at the beginning of my college journey, but along the way, I realized I had no genuine interest in that major. My parents continually asked me when I would finish community college and obtain a real job. I felt guilty for taking so long, especially as I kept failing a particular class for that specific major. Eventually, I decided to switch to a major in a similar field so that my other class credits would still count towards my new major. I took 2 more manageable classes to fulfill the credit requirements for that major, and I was finally done before the summer. Despite finishing mainly to get it over with, I still felt a sense of pride in my accomplishment. After all, I invested effort and completed all the schooling. While it was a small achievement, it meant a lot to me. My friend, who is 25 years old and a medical assistant, had a child right after we graduated high school, which caused her some setbacks in pursuing the traditional college route. Eventually, she decided to enroll in a medical assistant program and secured a great first job as a medical assistant from her externship. I was genuinely happy and proud of her. Later on, she began attending community college to pursue nursing, but she was barely in her 2nd semester when I was preparing to graduate. Being her friend, she knew I was finally finished and getting ready for graduation. We also had another friend in our group who was graduating with her bachelor's degree. As my graduation ceremony approached, I noticed that she began responding to my messages with short replies. Her responses seemed as though she did not want to communicate with me. I was confused and felt uncertain about what was wrong. especially since I was certain I had not done anything to upset her. I decided to let it go when she replied that way the first few times, thinking perhaps she was stressed with her schoolwork, given that she was taking summer classes, which are typically more fast-paced. As the week of my graduation ceremony arrived, I continued to let it be, as I was preoccupied with family plans and my graduation ceremony. The ceremony took place, and I received no message or call from her. I posted photos a day later on social media, yet still, I did not receive any congratulatory message from her. Again, I was busy with family matters, so I brushed it off and did not think much of it until our conversation. I texted her as we normally do, and one day she randomly messaged me to say she intended to start muting herself from the world. I asked her what was wrong, and she responded that it was because she felt I was ignoring her. Reflecting on those messages, I recognized how much she was playing the victim, a victim of something that wasn't even real, as I had done absolutely nothing to her. I felt annoyed, but being the good friend that I am, I told her that I did not want to force her to share anything she was uncomfortable discussing. I encouraged her to take care of her mental health and assured her that I would be here whenever she needed me. Then she finally expressed her feelings. She said, "I just feel sad because everyone is growing and moving on. They are finished with school and enjoying their lives." It finally clicked for me. She was projecting her sadness onto me because she felt behind in her academic journey. I bluntly asked her, "Are you upset because you feel like you're behind in school?" She replied, "Yes, but I don't want to discuss it because it makes me even sadder. I will let you enjoy your week." How was I supposed to enjoy my week after hearing that? At that moment, I felt incredibly frustrated. I sent her a long message, essentially explaining that she is my closest friend, but her lack of enthusiasm for my small achievement was glaringly obvious. I expressed my disappointment because she was one of the people I truly expected to celebrate my accomplishments with me, yet I heard nothing from her until several days later. I concluded by saying that if she did not want to talk about it, she didn't have to, and I would just give her space. While I was genuinely upset in that moment, I still reassured her that she could take the space she needed. After that, she began scrambling for explanations. She started giving me excuses for why she had not acknowledged my graduation, among other things. She also mentioned feeling sad because I had not explicitly told her every day that I was busy. I wondered, why would I even need to do that? Then she remarked that seeing everyone's graduation posts made her feel even more upset about her academic progress. With every excuse, I became more annoyed, as it became evident that she was not genuinely happy for me. She was still scrambling because she knew I was upset, a rarity, as I hardly ever express frustration towards her. She realized how poorly she had handled the situation. She wanted to come see me, but I told her I was still preoccupied with family matters. Honestly, I did not want to see her at that moment. A few days later, she dropped off a small gift when I was not home. I acknowledged it and thanked her. She would message me, and I responded normally, as if nothing had occurred. However, in truth, I was doing everything I could to avoid her. I remained upset but kept my feelings to myself. To shorten the story, I was trying to avoid seeing her in person, but she showed up at my house in tears. We talked, she apologized, and everything seemed okay again. Fast forward to this year. She is finally set to complete her associate's degree and will be graduating. She has been keeping me updated and sharing screenshots of her petition to graduate. There is nothing suspicious about it. I genuinely believe she is excited and wants to share that joy with me. I am happy for her, but now I am grappling with negative thoughts due to how she treated me when it was my time to celebrate. This situation makes me want to distance myself from her and remain silent about my experiences. I have been battling these conflicting feelings since she mentioned graduating. One part of me tells me not to dwell on the past and to be the friend she should have been during my moment. The other part insists that I should not overextend myself and give her the same energy that was absent when I was in the spotlight. I feel that if I choose to be the bigger person, I am disregarding my own feelings. Frankly, I do not believe I have achieved much in my life. Earning my associate's degree was simply one small accomplishment that gave me a sense of significance, yet my friend turned that moment into something about herself. If I choose to be petty, then I am just as bad as she is in this friendship. I know I am not that type of person or friend. I am genuinely happy for her. I have not had anyone to confide in about this because everyone knows that she is my best friend. I do not want anyone to question our friendship, but I am secretly doubting myself in relation to it, which is why I am writing this to you all. How should I handle this situation and the negative thoughts surrounding it? Would you continue to be friends with someone if you experienced this? Am I the asshole for feeling and acting this way? Story 5. Tech team blocks us from downloads. We responded with ingenious workarounds that drove them mad. After they ruined our reports and ignored us, CEO saw the truth, but was it worth the drama we caused? What happens when you fight back? Summary. A small e-commerce company I worked for had a dysfunctional technology team that made a significant error. After facing criticism from everyone, they retaliated by restricting everyone's ability to download or update any software or call any application programming interfaces without their approval. In response, we increased our API calls and library updates, costing them hours daily and resulting in complaints from the CEO regarding numerous reports of malfunction. I worked for a small e-commerce company that exhibited an unusual dynamic between the CEO and the chief technology officer. There was a tumultuous relationship between the two, and the CEO hired a new director of technology, who then brought in another person as the head of business intelligence and data engineering. Initially, they appeared competent, discussing their plans to resolve the issues with the outdated code that caused the systems and website to be slow and prone to crashes. However, over time, we all realized that these individuals were merely full of talk. They could not deliver on their promises, displayed a great deal of arrogance, and frequently took 2 to 3 hour lunches at the bar, often consuming alcohol. However, because they sought the CEO's approval and he harbored disdain for the former chief technology officer, he kept forgiving them, despite consistent objections from the other teams within the company. One day, everything went terribly wrong. At that time, I led the data science and analytics team and had a report that incorporated internal statistics as well as API calls to Google and Adobe. Our live reporting indicated that our conversion rate had dropped significantly, and a quick check with the original tech members from the former chief technology officer, who were very responsive and competent, confirmed that the website had unexpectedly gone down around 9:30 a.m. We attempted to reach the director and the business intelligence head, but we were unable to contact them. They arrived at work much later, after the issue had been resolved. Everyone was frustrated that we could not reach them, but they claimed to have acted heroically by quickly handling the issue, stating that it was definitively a distributed denial of service attack that they ultimately managed to mitigate. However, other tech staff present shared data revealing that certain metrics did not align with a distributed denial of service attack. After some pressure, we discovered that the head of business intelligence had taken some random individuals on a tour of the off-site servers, noticed a loose cable on the ground, picked it up, and plugged it into a slot, which created a feedback loop that crashed the site. Upon realizing the calls, they rushed back, unplugged the cable, and rebooted the servers, restoring functionality. They were heavily criticized for their poor conduct, with even the CEO joining in. The two individuals in question never fully acknowledged that this was the cause, instead claiming that it was both a distributed denial of service attack and a coincidentally timed feedback issue on the servers. This is when they became petty. Citing security concerns, they revoked everyone's ability to download, upgrade, or call any application programming interface without their explicit approval on literally everything. They hoped this would punish us all, and initially, we were indeed very upset, but the CEO returned to supporting their antics. That is when inspiration struck. Everyone affected tried to complete any new downloads and updates possible. In particular, my team, primarily using R and Python at the time, began requiring checks to upgrade every library in our codebase and created several scripts that served no real purpose other than to load numerous libraries, make API calls, and generate plots. These technology personnel were not proficient in either language, and while they suspected misconduct, they could not provide proof. The situation escalated to the point where they had to spend hours every morning with our team, entering passwords for each check. The situation peaked when they modified our functional code by commenting out all API calls. the scripts were unable to execute, and a crucial automated report could not be updated, preventing the CEO from preparing his presentation for the board. We showed him the commit made by the head of business intelligence and what he had done without consulting us. The CEO scolded him for 30 to 40 minutes, threatening to terminate his employment. The arrogant individual became so overwhelmed that he was brought to tears, pleading to keep his job. They promptly announced a new security update, allowing us all to download everything. Shortly after, I secured a new position, but later learned that the two were ultimately dismissed for incompetence and for being under the influence while on the job. One of the original competent technology staff members is now in charge, and to my knowledge, there have not been any major issues since.